right. Well, we want to welcome you to Empowering Moments in the Empower Room. I'm your host, Rev T, and let's get ready to do something.
Welcome to the Empower Room for Empowering Moments with your host, Timothy Hughes. Empowering Moments is brought to you by MPWR Media, LLC, where we empower you, parents, and the entire community with transformative information to move mind and spirit to a higher state of well-being. So welcome to the Empower Room, and let's get started.
All right, we want to welcome you to the Empower Room. I'm your host, Reverend Timothy Hughes, MDiv, and so glad to have you with us in the Empower Room on today. We ask that you subscribe to our page on YouTube and also like our page on Facebook and send your comments. We really appreciate it. We're on with you on Sundays at 3:30 normally, but due to our outstanding guests that we have today, sometimes you have to accommodate those very special guests sometimes, and that's what we're doing today. At 3:00 we started. Our regular time is at 3:30, but we are so excited to have in the Empower Room with us today and a very exciting guest. So to give you more information about what MPWR Media is all about, we're a social empowerment entity, and we empower community through social and digital and media, book publishing, and we also do special engagements. We do customized presentations to fit your audience, for youth, for teachers, for community, all those type of things. And we encourage you to check out our website. If you go to our website, you will be able to see some of these services that we do provide for you. So if you go to MPWRLLC1.com, that's MPWR Media LLC1.com, that will be able to tell you when you go to the services we provide page, the services we do provide, and we'll get more into that on next week. All right, so again, we want to thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to being in dialogue with our guest on today. We covered 3 areas. We deal with culture, civic concerns, and consciousness. And today we're focusing on Women's History Month, which we have been doing all the month of March. And we're so excited to have with us today an outstanding guest by none other than U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett. And she represents the 30th District of Texas. And we're so glad to have her with us on today. So we want to go ahead and bring her on, and we want to thank her so much for being with us. And here we go. Hello, Representative Jasmine Crockett. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Awesome. So thankful and grateful that you took this opportunity to be with us today. And we want to congratulate you on the win recently in the election. I believe you were unopposed.
No, I was.
You were. Okay. All right. One. Praise the Lord. All right.
Yes.
Right. Wonderful. So what can you tell us? I was thinking about Representative Eddie Bernice Johnson, and I know that you all you took her place, and was wanting to know what your relationship was like with her.
Yeah, so it's so interesting because obviously she passed away here at the last day of 2023. And so a lot of people are kind of digging in. And interestingly enough, I didn't know the Congresswoman very long. I definitely didn't know her very much before elected office. And honestly, she got to know me through my work, basically working in the state house. And we ended up forming a relationship over this kind of mutual love that we had for our constituency, which the largest portion of my state house district actually overlapped with her congressional district. had a total of 4 congressional members, but the largest portion overlap with her. And we got to talking about things as it relates to redistricting. And I wanted to make sure that I could safeguard her district as much as possible, which meant that I had to engage in conversation and learn a lot about her district. And it was through those conversations that I not only learned about her district, but I also learned a lot about her. She was good about telling some good old stories. It was amazing how strong her memory was. And, you know, in the fight for redistricting in the state of Texas, she had actually been looking to retire for approximately a decade, but she had a list of kind of requirements of what she was looking for. She wanted a woman. She wanted a woman that had legislative experience, and she wanted someone that would put the district first. And unbeknownst to me, it turns out that I was going to ultimately be her pick to replace her. And so once she told me that, we worked together very closely to make sure that I could secure my election, as well as really understand the things that she had been working on to do my best to continue her very strong legacy of over 30 years of service to the congressional district.
Awesome, awesome. And if I understand, you represent one of the most diverse districts in Texas. Is that correct?
That is true. And I have the most African-American densely populated district in the entire state as well.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So I wanted to move because you're in relation to legislation, because there's a reason I'm getting to that for future shows coming up. And that is, can you tell us how a basic process of a bill is passed or created and brought to a vote?
I could. We're not doing very much on the federal level right now, but essentially, it's pretty much the same no matter if you're talking about state or federal level. There are some nuances that are a little different. And so some of us who walk into the federal level have to unlearn some things. But long story short, there's typically a bill that basically is an idea that comes together on paper. And some people believe that you need to know how to actually write the legislation. You need to know the law that it comes from, what you're changing. You don't have to know any of that. You can just say, hey, you know what? I think we should have free healthcare for everyone. And no matter what level of government you're on, state or federal, there are people that spend their entire time trying to figure out, how can I make what this representative has asked legal? And so you usually call ledge counsel or whomever, and they will draft it up. Now, one of the benefits of me being an attorney is I'm on the state level. A lot of times I would get legislation. I'm like, this isn't going to do what I wanted it to do, because I knew how to actually read it. And so a lot of times I would actually edit and redo it myself sometimes, but you don't have to know like the law itself. There's other people that draft it, and they cross-reference what laws would have to kind of be undone and all that kind of stuff. And then what happens is usually you have an opportunity to lay out your bill. And what that means is on the state level, we could bring in witnesses to testify, whether they were expert witnesses or witnesses from the community. They could testify on our bills, or they could testify against your bill. And then usually out of committee, there's a vote. And then once a bill comes out of committee, that's when it's right to go to the floor. But that's where things get tricky, no matter what level you're on. On the state level in Texas, we have what we call calendars, and calendars had to slate it to actually hit the floor. Now, what you would do is you would normally go to those members that sat on the calendars committee, and you would show them, hey, we got this out of committee in a bipartisan way, you know, please put the bill on the floor. All their stuff was off the record. It was like this black abyss. You never knew if your bills were going to come to the floor or not. Ultimately, the speaker always has a say so in whether or not it would actually come up. Same thing on the federal level, except we don't lay out as many bills. We do markups in committee as bills kind of get to moving, and you don't necessarily bring your own witnesses. It's up to the committee chair to invite whatever witnesses they want to, and then the minority normally gets to invite maybe one witness. And then it's a matter of whether or not the speaker will allow it to come to the floor. So for instance, the supplemental aid out of the Senate has still not hit the House floor because the speaker refuses to bring it to the floor. But once you get things out of a chamber, out of, say, the House, because you've been able to get it passed with whichever vote was required, either a majority or a supermajority, it just kind of depends on what type of bill we're talking about. Then it goes to the Senate for passage, and then ultimately, if for some reason the Senate is like, we like your bill in theory, but we don't like it all, then what happens is there's usually a committee of people that are chosen to say, okay, where can we meet in the middle and get a bill? And usually then is then sent to the president's desk or the governor's desk for a signature, and that's how we get a law.
Okay, I appreciate that because I mean, we deal. I ask people, their concerns and in relation to voting and trying to encourage folks to vote. And I run across this issue that, nobody does anything or this, that, and the other, and so on and so forth. And I think people really don't understand the nuances of the process. They think it's just one person making a decision, and they're the reason why it's not going through. And that's not the case. So I think it's important that that type of the processes need to be shared with everyday folks so they have a better understanding. And we can do our own research. I mean, because we got the internet. So, but thank you. I appreciate it. And I want to thank you for speaking truth to power in the way that you do. So please keep doing what you're doing. All right. Appreciate your representation. All right. So what is the most important issue you have that is concerning you right now as it relates to our country?
Honestly, it's probably our safety overall, domestically as well as internationally. The economy is recovering in a very strong way. I know that not everybody feels it just yet, but the economy is really coming back very strongly. We obviously still need to work on wages. I just did a rally with some Teamsters here locally. So we got to make sure that everybody's feeling it, right? Like the company that we were out there for, they're experiencing record profits. We got to make sure everybody is feeling this better economy and not just those at the top. So that's more so practical kind of work that we have to do on the ground. But considering where we see one of the nominees headspace as it relates to being a dictator on day one, and as it relates to coddling up with Viktor Orban, and as it relates to giving permission to a Russia to go into a NATO country, which means that American soldiers and service members then have to potentially go into war if for some reason something like that takes place. And we do know that because of our failure to lead to assist Ukraine right now, that may become a reality sooner rather than later, because he has made it clear that he does want to go into a NATO country, which means that our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers would be the ones that would then have to go into war, because that's what it is to be a NATO country. And so beyond just costing us dollars, we're looking at potentially costing us American lives. And so I'm very, very concerned from a national security standpoint of where we are and where we aren't, and the fact that we're unable to agree on anything beyond TikTok. I mean, I get that TikTok poses, a threat as well, but I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think, and granted, and I'm not saying that TikTok doesn't pose a threat, but as far as like human lives, American lives being on the line, we've got some things that maybe we should be handling before TikTok as it relates to that. So that's really number one for me, top of mind.
Understand. So is there anything else you would like to share with your constituents, Texas wide, US wide? I think you're worldwide now, but
Yeah, I just want people to know that, nothing in this life is perfect. No politician is perfect. Your spouses aren't perfect. Your kids aren't perfect. Nothing is perfect. But in the moment that we're in, the question shouldn't be who's giving me everything that I want, who is perfect. It should be who is striving for a more perfect union, right? And I emphasize union, and thinking about unity, right? Who is striving to pull us together and who's pulling us apart? And recognize that we don't live in a nation where we have kings or queens or any types of monarchs, but instead we have a democracy.
True.
And it's been said over and over and over that we must fight in every generation for our freedoms. And those freedoms look like democracy. They look like women's rights. They look like the right to exist as Black folk in the only country that many of us know. They look like really speaking up for those that historically have been downtrodden and forgotten, and recognizing that their existence is tied to ours, whether we're talking about the LGBTQIA community or whether we're talking about the immigrant community. Like, understanding that we are in a moment right now where freedoms that our ancestors fought for, bled for, died for are being receded because there are certain people that refuse to acknowledge our humanity. And the same people that refuse to acknowledge my humanity as a Black person, as a woman, they're going after the humanity of others. And it's not so much about whether we agree. It's not so much about whether or not we're perfect. It's about which team is going to fight for the basic rights that we all thought that this country was going to guarantee us. And understanding that it's a team, understanding that Jasmine can't do anything by herself, but I need a House that will cooperate. I need a Senate that will cooperate. I need a presidential administration that will cooperate. So, that's the only thing that I want people to be left with. And I really want you to look at who people are. I'm not trying to tell you who to vote for, but I am trying to encourage you to look for someone who has characteristics that match up not only with what they say, but their actions match up with what they say. And then understand that you have the power. The power belongs to the people. And it's time that the people start flexing their power.
Amen. Thank you so much, Representative Jasmine Crockett, U.S. Representative, Honorable U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett. Thank you so much for joining us in the Empower Room. Blessings to you. Anything I can do, I'm here in Texas as well. I'm available. All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. God bless. And keep up the great work. All right. Well, we've had an outstanding interview with U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett. So I want to thank her so much for being on with us on today, and in the midst of Women's History Month, and just an outstanding interview with her on today. And so grateful to have her with us. And hey, I hope that you have gained some insight from what you've heard, and spread the word as we prepare for a new election coming up as well. And just thank her again, U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett, representing the 30th District here in Texas, and one of the most diverse districts in Texas, period. So want to thank her so much for being on with us, and pray that you have gleaned some great insight from this dialogue that we had on today. All right, so we're going to move on to the consciousness part of today's conversation. And I just want to encourage us to make sure that we are critically thinking. We're being bombarded with all types of information through social media, things that are true, things that are not true, things that are conspiracy led, things that may cause you to question if this is true or if it's Memorex or whatever. But, I want to encourage you with a process that I think is helpful in regard to critically thinking about serious decisions and serious things that are going on, especially in our country and in our world and in our life. All right. So, one of the key things, first off, is to take time to just be in a quiet space. You know what I'm saying? And uh, get away from the noise, get away from other folk, get away from the TV, get away from your phone, get away from the social media, and if you're grappling with something, an issue, a concern, politically or socially or personally, take some time just to kind of chill, and then I recommend, I call it a process of construct a situation. And deconstructing a situation to me means that you're looking at it and you're analyzing it, you're taking it apart, seeing if it's true. First off, if it is true, seeing what truths, there might be some truths in it, there may not be, and there might be some untruths in it. But getting to the root of the situation, getting to the root of whatever is coming your way in regard to any type of situation, or what someone said. If you have a question in your mind to think, I don't know if that's true, take the time to research it. Take the time to maybe ask someone else their opinion, or get an expert opinion. See if someone else can verify what you have been told. If you are questioning something that someone told you, or something that you saw, or that type of thing, because like I said, we're getting hit by all kinds of different directions. AI is another layer that we have to be concerned with in regard to if what we're seeing is real, or if it's something that's been created by a computer. All those type of things we have to take into account. So I want to encourage us to do that. And for example, there's a situation that took place in my hometown in St. Louis that deeply touched me, where there was a fight after school in one of the districts that me and my business partner did a program in the Hazelwood School District. And there was a fight outside in the neighborhood. And I heard one of the neighbors say from the reporter, when they were sharing information with the reporter, again, we have fights up and down the street on a regular basis. That's the norm. So I'm thinking to myself, so did the person ever call the principal of the school and say, hey, we have an issue on our street where we have students that come from this school that are constantly fighting almost on a daily basis? I wonder, did anyone from that neighborhood ever do that? And if they did do that, then did administrators of that school try to come up with a solution by having someone parole that street, have PTO members, SRO, security from the school, patrol the street on a regular basis, that type of thing. So that's part to me of the critical thinking, where you're being observant about things that are going on. And if there's some things that are going on that are not healthy or problematic, what's the solution? When there's a problem, what's the solution? And I believe there's a solution for everything. But if we just stay back and say, oh, that's not my child, or, I'm not going to worry about it, or that's what they do, and yada, 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 woo, 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 that's not good. That's not healthy. All right. So just want us to encourage us to practice more, if we don't, to critically think about what's going on in our society. Do our research, let's get to the root of what the truth is, and operate in the truth, rather than what may be coming through us through social media, the TikToks, the Instagrams, the Facebook posts, and the YouTube podcasts and all that. Let's get to really making sure that we are clear on what we are hearing and what we are seeing, that we are making sure we're making the wise and righteous decision in what we're doing. All right, so that's it for me in regards to critical thinking and consciousness. Just something I've been pondering this week. I mean, as we think of African Americans and things that happen in our community, the mindset is that if someone shoots someone that's African American, that's us. I don't take that as a us thing. That's what that person chose to do. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Hello, it doesn't. All right. When I think about how we engage one another, and we say that we're this and we're that. I tell you what, my brothers are successful. The people I hang around with are successful. Their children are successful. Their children's children are successful, and all that. So I'd have to critically think about the misperceptions that we experience, especially as African Americans, and I have to switch that around in my head in a lot of cases because of what is thrown out there through the media and various other sources to make everyone think that we're just drug dealers, pimps and hoes, excuse my language, rappers, basketball players, football players, and that's all we do. No, that's not. We've got thousands upon thousands of young people in colleges today. Let's just look at the historically Black colleges. There's a graduation coming up in a few weeks in May with all these colleges. You mean to tell me that all these African American beautiful young people are thugs? Hell to the no. Yeah, I did say it. Hell to the no. So that's it for me. Y'all have a blessed day. I hope that you were blessed by today's empowering guest, none other than U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett from the 30th District of Dallas of Texas. And we're so grateful and thankful for her being on and sharing with us and dialoguing with us in the way that she did. So again, thank you all for being with us in the Empower Room. We'll see you next week. We have another empowering engagement on next week with a very special guest. And we want to also remember hashtag Justice for Quincy McMillan as well. So we want to encourage you to please keep this hashtag going for his mom, Qualisha. For Qualisha Jones. In fact, she'll be on with us again to give us an update on how things are going in regard to the investigation of his murder in Phoenix, Arizona. So we look forward to having her on with us on next week, along with another guest. All right. So again, we want to thank you all so much for being with us in the Empower Room. I've been empowered. I'm excited. So grateful to have had U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett with us on today. And again, don't forget to do something, and we'll see you all on next week.
Thank you for joining us in the Empower Room. Hope you have received some impactful information. Please like or leave a comment. See you next week in the Empower Room, brought to you by Empower Media LLC and your host, Reverend Timothy Hughes, aka Rev T.